Yeah. Like you think of all these like weird sayings like any man that's got friends is rich in spirit, or anybody that's got their health is da. And people dismiss that, but it's like you shouldn't dismiss that.
Yeah.
Shouldn't dismiss that, because what do you really need? You know? Well, what I need is a ticket to Disney World. What you need is a ticket to some place that will gouge you for all your money, make you walk around like a slave in the heat all day, charge you way too much money for something you could make at a fraction of the price, twice as delicious, twice as awesome at home, you know, for a bunch of bullshit. Yeah. You know, I don't mean to just attack Disney. If you want to go to Disney, there's no sin in it. But I'm saying...
You're making a bigger point.
Yeah, exactly. I'm making a bigger point, man.
Yeah, it's like...
How do you get that into someone's head?
What would you rather? To not be afraid or to have buckets of money? I'd imagine never being afraid again in your life, or never worrying, or like, you know, what's real wealth?
Right.
You know, what's going on inside of you, like all the things that, you know, and I'm not saying that I've conquered these things. I'm just saying that, like, you know,
how do you say it the exact right way?
Yeah.
When you go to the guru and he's like a magical guru or something, and it's like, I can either show you how to get rich, or I can get rid of the illusion that you have that's like a sickness in your mind that richness is what you need. Now, obviously, if you're talking to somebody who's like living hand to mouth poverty, that's a different thing, man. And how does that happen? Maybe that's a better idea. How does it happen where somebody's like trapped in a desolate desert that doesn't grow food and can't get to somewhere where their needs are met, and it's violence and war? How does that happen? You know, because that's a different thing. If you're in the civilized... If you're not in the third world, you know, I see a lot of people complain about stuff. Like, they'll be like very upset that they can't live high on the hog the way other people did. Like, imagine boomers were like, why don't I get to live like Pharaoh? Why don't I get to like have like 1 million people marching under me? And, you know, but there are people that have food, have friends, have healthcare, have these things, and they're upset that they don't have more.
Yeah.
They're frustrated. And I don't want to judge that too bad, because it's so common. I have that. I want more too. I'm with you. But there's, what am I getting at here? Why are we so sick? Why can't we enjoy what there is?
Probably because the part that we have to get past is we're pitted up against our neighbors. We're living side by side with each other. And so we see other people who we look at their situation and we interpret as they have it better than me, right? And then there's jealousy and there's things that get inside of us. So, well, I want to, you know, and then you find out how they got there, and it's like, well, I worked way harder and they got there, and then there's all these games that get played.
But somebody noticed the phenomenon of jealousy. Most of us, when you're kids, you'd be like, I want the toy he wants. And then if you've got like a sensible parent that isn't a psychopath, that's like, well, how you gonna get it, sweetie? And then like teaches their kid to be petty and effed up, then that's a different thing. But if you got a parent that like points out the silliness of that and why it's available to you, you just gotta wait a sec, or you know, you have everything you need, like some gentle wise parent would, then what really gets a hold of you that makes you that petty type of person that compares yourself to everybody is capitalism. Is every time you watch a commercial, it's like, do you have your blah 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 yet? Because your neighbor does. You know, we get engineered by society, and it's terrified. Society's like, we got to do everything we can, otherwise the game's gonna be over. And this game of like this thing that we dragged with us through all the millennia of evolution, this like ape-like tendency to want to dominate each other and everything, we're just dragging it along. And there's many of us that are ready to like explode out of that, like, forget this, man. Like, I'm sick of the petty, ape-like, contentious, competitive world.
Yeah, maybe we have to, like, see it to the end, which I think is kind of what's happening with late-stage capitalism. We're kind of in that phase, where I think the younger generations are seeing what we're all doing, and they're like, we're not going to do what you did. And I feel like as we evolve, I think it's probably going to be very soon a next step for us. If it's not our kids' generation, it might be the next kids.
But it's tough too, because you never know really the full story. What if somebody found the biggest house on the street, and you're like, look at this guy. What are you compensating for? Buys the biggest house, and then he moves in a bunch of like desolate families. He's like, I literally did that to try to save a bunch of people. Well, then you just want to look good for doing something. Like, it's, in some sense, in real life, it's none of your business. I'm not trying to criticize anybody in particular.
Yeah.
Everyone's got their reasons.
Yeah.
But on the larger scale, I just wanted to focus on that exact thing. We ignore real wealth for fake wealth.
Yeah.
It's a perfect depiction of the guy trying to eat money on a desert island. People think things matter that don't. Well, if I'm not a certain amount this way, then I won't attract a spouse. It's like, are you sure you want a spouse then?
Yeah.
That's the living hell you got to live in. And then, you know, who are we talking to? I'm going to give our audience more credit and think I don't need to go over that whole thing again.
Yeah.
If you're here, you're already interested in this type of stuff.